pounded her body like fists. She tried to scream, but water filled her mouth.
I'm here now.
The black SUV that had dumped her was already gone. Tail lights vanishing into the storm. She clawed at the concrete, dragging herself toward the gutter, her useless legs trailing behind her like dead weight. 24 years old, and her own father had just ordered her death. Not with a bullet, not with poison, with rain and cold and abandonment. She was going to die here alone, forgotten exactly the way Senator William Sullivan wanted. Before you continue, please subscribe to my channel and follow this story until the end. Comment below what city you're watching from, so I can see how far this story travels. Marcus was off his Harley before his brain caught up with his body. 52 years of instinct took over the same instinct that had kept him alive through 3 tours in Afghanistan. The same instinct that screamed at him, "Now move, soldier, move!" The rain hit him like bullets as he ran toward her. "Hey, hey, can you hear me?" The woman's head lifted slowly. Her lips were blue. Her thin dress clung to her body like a second skin, offering no protection against the Georgia evening that had turned brutal without warning. "But please," her voice came out as barely a whisper. "Please don't call anyone." Marcus dropped to one knee beside her wheelchair. Up close, she looked even younger than he'd first thought. Mid-20s, maybe. Dark hair plastered to a face that might have been beautiful if it wasn't twisted with fear and cold. "I'm not calling anyone," he said, keeping his voice low and steady. The same tone he'd used with scared civilians in Kandahar. "But you're going to freeze to death out here. I've got a shop 2 blocks away, warm, dry. Can I take you there?" Her eyes darted past him, scanning the street, looking for something. Or someone. "They'll find me," she whispered. Marcus felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. "Who'll find you?" She didn't answer. Her whole body convulsed with a violent shiver. That was enough for Marcus. He'd sort out the details later. Right now, this girl needed warmth, or she'd be dead before morning. "I'm going to pick you up now," he said. "Put your arms around my neck if you can." She hesitated for only a second before her cold fingers found his collar. Marcus slid one arm under her knees, the other behind her back, and lifted her from the wheelchair. She weighed nothing, like carrying a child. "My chair. I'll come back for it. Promise." He carried her through the rain to his Harley, shielding her as best he could with his own body. His leather jacket was soaked through, but it still held some warmth. He pulled it off and wrapped it around her shoulders. "Hold tight to me," he instructed, settling her onto the bike. "Don't let go for anything." Her arms wrapped around his waist. Even through his wet shirt, he could feel her trembling. Marcus kicked the engine to life and pulled carefully into the street. Every instinct told him to gun it to get this girl somewhere safe as fast as possible. But the roads were slick and dangerous, and the last thing she needed was to survive hypothermia only to die in a motorcycle accident. 2 blocks never felt so long. His shop, Brennan's Bikes and Repairs, sat on a corner lot that had seen better decades. The building was old, the sign was faded, and most folks in Millbrook crossed the street to avoid walking past it. That suited Marcus just fine. He pulled into the garage bay and killed the engine. The sudden silence was almost as loud as the storm outside. "We're here," he said quietly. "You're safe now." He carried her through the garage into the small back room that served as his living space. A bed, a kitchenette, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. It wasn't much, but it was warm and dry. Marcus set her down in the one comfortable chair he owned, an old recliner that had belonged to his father, and immediately grabbed every blanket he could find. "Need to get you warm," he said, draping them over her. "I'm going to make coffee. You drink coffee?" She nodded weakly. "Good. That's good." He busied himself with the coffee maker, giving her space. His hands moved automatically while his mind raced. The terror in her eyes. The way she'd scanned the street. They'll find me. Who was they? And why had someone left a young woman in a wheelchair out in a storm like this? The coffee finished brewing. Marcus poured 2 cups and carried them over, settling into a metal folding chair across from her. "I'm Marcus," he said. "Most folks call me Tank." She wrapped both hands around the mug, letting the heat seep into her fingers. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was stronger now, though still shaky. "For stopping. You didn't have to. Nobody should be left out in weather like that." He took a sip of his coffee. "You want to tell me your name?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then so softly he almost missed it. "Emma." "Emma, that's pretty." Marcus set his mug down. "Emma, I'm not going to push you, but I need to know, is someone hurting you? Because if they are, I can help." Her eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back hard. "You can't help me. No one can help me." "Try me. You don't understand. The person who did this..." She stopped herself, pressing her lips together. "He's powerful. He has money. He has connections. I've faced down Taliban warlords with nothing but a rifle and 3 rounds of ammunition," Marcus said quietly. "Whoever this guy is, I guarantee you, he doesn't scare me." Emma stared at him, really looked at him for the first time, taking in the military tattoos on his forearms, the scars on his knuckles, the hard lines of a face that had seen things most people couldn't imagine. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." Marcus was quiet for a moment. The question hit deeper than she could possibly know. "Because 20 years ago someone should have helped my son," he finally said. "And no one did. He died because everyone was too scared to stand up to the man who killed him." Emma's breath caught. "I'm sorry." "Me too." Marcus leaned forward. "Look, I'm not asking you to trust me completely. I'm a stranger, but I'm asking you to let me help you through tonight. Tomorrow, if you want to leave, I'll drive you wherever you want to go. No questions. But tonight you stay here where it's warm. Deal?" She searched his face for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. "Deal." Marcus retrieved her wheelchair from where he'd left it, carrying it back through rain that had somehow gotten even worse. By the time he returned, Emma had stopped shivering, though she still clutched the blankets tight around her shoulders. He set up a makeshift bed for himself on the garage floor, leaving her the recliner. It wasn't comfortable, but he'd slept in far worse places. "Try to get some rest," he told her. "We'll figure things out in the morning." But sleep didn't come easy for Marcus Brennan. He lay on the cold concrete, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain hammer against the roof. Every few minutes, he heard Emma shift in the chair. She wasn't sleeping either. Around 2 in the morning, her voice came through the darkness. "Marcus." "Yeah." "The person who left me there." She paused. "It wasn't a random stranger." He waited. "It was my father." Marcus sat up slowly. "Your father left you in the rain?" "His people did, on his orders." Her voice was flat, now drained of emotion. "He wanted me to die, but he didn't want his hands dirty. He thought the storm would do his work for him." "Why would your own father want you dead?" The silence stretched so long, Marcus thought she wasn't going to answer. Then, "Because I'm an embarrassment to him, a liability." Another pause. "My father is Senator William Sullivan." Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the gut. Senator William Sullivan. The man whose face was plastered on billboards across Georgia. The man whose campaign slogan, "Family Values First," was repeated in every political ad, every news interview, every carefully staged photo opportunity. The man who was running for governor. "He's your father," Marcus repeated. "Was," Emma said bitterly. "He stopped being my father the day I woke up in that hospital bed and couldn't feel my legs." Marcus made more coffee. It was going to be a long night. Emma sat up in the recliner, the blanket still wrapped around her, but her posture different now. More alert, more determined. "The accident was 2 years ago," she began. "A truck driver fell asleep at the wheel, hit my car head-on going 60 miles an hour. The doctor said it was a miracle I survived it all." "But your legs?" "Spinal cord injury, T10 incomplete, they called it. I might have walked again someday with enough therapy, enough work." Her jaw tightened. "But that would have required someone to actually invest in my recovery. And your father didn't." "My father visited me exactly once in the hospital. Do you know what he said to me?" Marcus shook his head. He said, "How am I supposed to explain this to donors? Not, how are you feeling? Not, what do you need? Just, donors." Emma laughed, but there was no humor in it. A week later, his chief of staff showed up with papers, transfer documents. They moved me to a private facility, Sunrise Care Center, they called it. Made it sound nice and peaceful. But it wasn't. It was a prison. Her voice dropped. "They kept me drugged, sedated. I'd wake up and not know what day it was, what month. The staff, some of them were okay, but others..." She wrapped her arms around herself. "They weren't kind." Marcus felt a familiar rage building in his chest. The same rage that had almost destroyed him after Jake died. The same rage he'd spent 20 years trying to bury. "How long were you there?" "Almost 2 years. My father paid them $50,000 a month to keep me quiet and out of sight. 50,000. While he stood on stages talking about family values and the importance of taking care of our loved ones." "How did you get out?" Emma's expression shifted. Something like pride flickered across her face. "There was a new orderly. Young guy, maybe 19. He wasn't like the others. He actually talked to me like I was a person. One night during a shift change, he left a door unlocked. I don't know if it was on purpose or an accident, but I took my chance." "You escaped." "I wheeled myself out of that building at 3 in the morning and I never looked back." She met Marcus's eyes. "That was 3 weeks ago. I've been living on the streets ever since, begging for food, sleeping in doorways. I was starting to think maybe death would be easier, and then tonight happened." Marcus processed this. "The storm. Your father's people found you. They've been looking for me since I escaped. Tonight they finally caught up." Her voice trembled. "They grabbed me from behind a grocery store, threw me in a van. The man in charge, Blackwell, they called him, he said my father wanted to resolve the situation permanently. They drove me to that street corner and dumped me in the rain. Expecting you to die of exposure. No direct evidence, no witnesses, just a tragic story about a mentally unstable daughter who wandered off and couldn't survive the elements." Emma's hands curled into fists. "My father would get to play the grieving parent on camera. His poll numbers would probably go up." Marcus stood abruptly pacing the small space. His mind was racing. Senator William Sullivan, one of the most powerful men in Georgia, a man with money influence and apparently no conscience whatsoever, a man who had tried to murder his own daughter. "We need to go to the police," Marcus said. "No." Emma's response was immediate and fierce. "My father has connections everywhere. The police, the prosecutors, the judges. I tried calling a detective when I first escaped. Know what happened? 2 hours later, Blackwell showed up at the homeless shelter where I was hiding. Someone tipped him off. Then the FBI. One of my father's biggest campaign donors is the former director of the Atlanta field office. They golf together. Emma's voice broke. Don't you understand? There's no one I can trust. No one except... She stopped looking at him with something like wonder. Except apparently a complete stranger who stopped his motorcycle in the rain. Marcus turned to face her. This girl, this woman had been through hell, abandoned by her own father, imprisoned, drugged, left to die. And somehow she was still fighting, still surviving. It reminded him of someone he used to know. It reminded him of himself. I know people, he said slowly, from my time in the Marines. Good men. Men who know how to dig up information. Men who can't be bought. Hope flickered in Emma's eyes. What are you saying? I'm saying your father might be powerful, but he's not untouchable. Everyone leaves a trail. Everyone makes mistakes. Marcus sat back down, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. If what you're telling me is true, and I believe it is, then there's evidence out there. Financial records, witness statements, something that can bring him down. And you'd help me find it, even knowing who he is, even knowing what he's capable of. Marcus thought about Jake, about the drunk driver who'd walked free while his son lay in the ground, about all the years he'd spent running from his grief instead of facing it. Maybe this was why he'd survived. Maybe this was his second chance. Emma, I spent 20 years angry at the world for not protecting my boy. 20 years wondering why I didn't do more, fight harder, burn it all down if that's what it took. He met her eyes. I'm not making that mistake again. If your father wants a fight, he's got one. The rain finally stopped around 4 in the morning. Marcus didn't notice. He was on his phone sending coded messages to men he hadn't contacted in years. Diego Reaper Vasquez, former intelligence specialist now running a security consulting firm in Savannah. Tom Ghost Wheeler, ex-JAG lawyer turned private investigator based in Atlanta. Both men owed Marcus their lives from a hellish night in Helmand province that still gave him nightmares. Both men responded within minutes. What do you need? Name the target. We're in. Marcus looked over at Emma, who had finally fallen asleep in the recliner. Even in sleep, her face was tense, her brow furrowed. The face of someone who hadn't felt safe in a very long time. That was going to change. He typed one more message. Senator William Sullivan. Full workup, everything you can find. He tried to kill his own daughter and we're going to make him pay. The responses came back immediately. Consider it done. The bastard won't know what hit him. Marcus set his phone down and allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. Senator Sullivan had made a critical mistake tonight. He'd assumed that a girl in a wheelchair, alone and vulnerable, would be easy to eliminate. He had no idea that she'd just found the most dangerous ally in the state of Georgia. And Marcus Brennan was just getting started. Dawn broke, gray and cold over Millbrook. Marcus had managed maybe 2 hours of sleep, but he'd functioned on less during his military days. He got up quietly, not wanting to wake Emma, and started another pot of coffee. His phone buzzed. Diego. Got preliminary info. You sitting down? Marcus stepped outside, keeping his voice low. Talk to me. Your senator's dirty brother, like swimming in the sewer dirty. Diego's voice was grim. Sunrise Care Center. The facility where he stashed his daughter, it's owned by a shell company that traces back to a construction firm Sullivan has major investments in. He wasn't just paying them to keep her quiet, he was paying himself. Son of a bitch. It gets better. That facility has had 17 complaints filed against it in the last 3 years. Abuse allegations, neglect, suspicious deaths. Know how many investigations have been launched? Let me guess, 0. Gold star for the Marine. Someone's been making those complaints disappear. Someone with connections to the state licensing board. Diego paused. 3 guesses who that might be. Marcus's grip tightened on his phone. What else? Ghost is digging into the financial side. Early signs point to massive campaign finance violations, unreported donations, money moving through accounts that don't officially exist. If even half of what he's finding is accurate, we're talking federal charges. How long until you have something concrete? Give us 48 hours. We'll have enough to bury him. Marcus ended the call and stood there for a moment, watching the sun try to break through the clouds. 48 hours. In 48 hours, they might have everything they needed to destroy Senator William Sullivan's career and send him to prison where he belonged. The question was whether they could keep Emma safe that long. He walked back inside. Emma was awake, watching him with those haunted eyes. I heard you on the phone, she said quietly. Good ears. Who were you talking to? Marcus poured 2 cups of coffee and handed her one. Old friends, the kind of friends who know how to find things people want to stay hidden. And what did they find? He told her. All of it. The shell company, the complaints, the financial irregularities. With each revelation, he watched her face cycle through shock anger and finally something that looked almost like relief. I knew he was corrupt, she said when he finished. I knew it in my gut. But hearing it confirmed, she shook her head. Part of me kept hoping I was wrong. That maybe there was some explanation, some reason he did what he did that wasn't just pure cruelty. Some people are just cruel, Emma. No explanation needed. I know that now. She set her coffee down. What happens next? My guys need 48 hours to compile everything. Hard evidence that'll hold up in court. Once they have it, we go to the press. Someone national, someone your father can't reach. We blow this whole thing wide open. And in the meantime, you stay here. You stay hidden. You stay safe. Emma looked around the small, shabby room. You'd do that. Let a complete stranger live in your home. You're not a stranger anymore. Marcus shrugged. Besides, the place could use some life. Gets pretty quiet with just me and the motorcycles. For the first time since he'd found her, Emma smiled. It was small and tired, but it was real. Thank you, Marcus. I don't know why you're helping me, but I told you why. Your son. She nodded slowly. You said he died because no one stood up for him. What happened? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. It wasn't a story he told often. It wasn't a story he told ever. But something about Emma, something about the way she looked at him without judgment, without expectation, made him want to. Jake was 16, he began. Bright kid, funny, had his mother's smile. He stared into his coffee cup. He was walking home from a friend's house one night when some drunk asshole in a Mercedes jumped the curb. Hit Jake so hard Marcus stopped. Swallowed. He didn't suffer. That's what the doctor said. Like that was supposed to make it okay. I'm so sorry. The driver's name was Harold Benson. Rich guy, family money. He had a blood alcohol level twice the legal limit, but his lawyers got the test thrown out on a technicality. The whole case fell apart from there. Witnesses suddenly couldn't remember what they'd seen. Evidence went missing. 6 months after my son's funeral, Harold Benson walked out of court a free man. That's horrific. My wife was already sick by then. Cancer. She had maybe a year left, and she spent the last months of her life watching me destroy myself with rage. Marcus's voice grew rough. I wanted to kill him, Emma. I wanted to find Harold Benson and put a bullet between his eyes. I came this close. He held up his thumb and forefinger barely a centimeter apart. This close. What stopped you? Sarah, my wife. She made me promise. She said, Marcus, if you do this, you become the monster. You let him win. Our boy wouldn't want that. He exhaled slowly. So I didn't. I let Benson live. And a year later, I buried my wife too. Lost everything that ever mattered to me, because powerful people decided they were above the law. Emma reached out and touched his arm. That's why you're helping me. Because you see him. Your son. I see a lot of things, Marcus admitted. I see someone who got dealt a terrible hand and refused to fold. I see someone who crawled out of a prison with nothing but determination. I see someone who deserves a hell of a lot better than what life has given her. He met her eyes. And yeah, maybe I see a chance to finally do what I should have done 20 years ago. To fight back against the people who think they can hurt others without consequences. The moment stretched between them, heavy with shared pain and unspoken understanding. Then Emma straightened in her chair. Okay, she said. So we have 48 hours. We have 48 hours? Then let's use them. Whatever you need me to do, write statements, record testimony, answer questions, I'm ready. Her jaw set with determination. My father took everything from me. My legs, my freedom, my faith in people. I want it back, all of it. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, something that had been frozen for 20 years beginning to thaw. Then let's get to work. By noon, the small back room had transformed into a command center of sorts. Marcus had cleared off his cluttered desk, and Emma sat there with a notebook writing down everything she could remember. Names, dates, incidents at the facility. Every detail that might be useful. Marcus paced as he made more calls, coordinating with Diego and Ghost, arranging secure methods to receive the documents they were compiling. Around 1 o'clock, Emma looked up from her writing. Marcus, yeah. There's something else, something I didn't tell you last night. He stopped pacing. What is it? At the facility, I wasn't the only one being hidden. Emma's voice dropped. There were others, 3 other people in a separate wing. I only saw them a few times, but I heard the staff talking. They called it the quiet ward. Other prisoners. I don't know, maybe. They were kept heavily sedated even more than me. I always wondered. She shook her head. I always wondered if they were people like me. People whose families wanted them to disappear. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. You think your father was running some kind of operation hiding people for money? I think it's possible. The facility got a lot of private donations, more than made sense for a place that size. Emma met his eyes. If there are other victims, if there are other families who paid to make their inconvenient relatives vanish, that's bigger than just my story. That's a criminal enterprise. Exactly. Marcus pulled out his phone. Diego needs to know about this. If we can prove multiple victims, your father's not looking at campaign finance violations anymore. He's looking at conspiracy kidnapping, maybe even murder charges. Do you think we can prove it? I think we're sure as hell going to try. The afternoon passed in a blur of activity. Emma wrote and wrote, filling page after page with her memories. Marcus coordinated with his contacts, receiving encrypted files and photographs that painted an increasingly damning picture of Senator Sullivan's empire. But even as they worked, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He'd learned to trust that feeling during his years in combat. It had saved his life more than once. Around 4 o'clock, he stepped outside to check the perimeter. Nothing seemed out of place. The street was quiet. A few cars passed by, none of them slowing. But when he walked around to the back of the building, he found them. tire tracks in the mud behind his garage. Fresh ones, made by a vehicle that had sat there long enough to leave deep impressions. Someone had been watching his shop. Marcus's blood went cold. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Diego, we might have a problem." Emma was still writing when Marcus came back inside. She looked up at his expression and immediately tensed. "What's wrong?" "Probably nothing," he lied. "Just being cautious." "Marcus, don't do that. Don't protect me from the truth." He hesitated. Then, there were tire tracks behind the building. Someone was parked there recently, watching. The color drained from Emma's face. "They found me. My father's people. We don't know that for sure." "Who else would it be?" She had a point. Marcus grabbed a duffel bag from under his bed and started packing essentials. Clothes, cash, a first aid kit, and from a locked cabinet, a Glock 19 that hadn't been fired in 5 years. Emma's eyes widened when she saw the gun. "Marcus? Just a precaution." He checked the magazine chambered around and tucked the weapon into his waistband. "We're going to be fine, but I think it's time we found somewhere else to stay tonight." "Where?" "I've got a place. Old hunting cabin about 20 miles from here. Nobody knows about it. We'll be safe there until Diego and Ghost have what we need." Emma nodded slowly. "Okay, let me get my things." "Emma." Marcus waited until she met his eyes. "Whatever happens, I'm not going to let them take you. You understand I made you a promise, and I keep my promises." She held his gaze for a long moment. Then quietly, "I believe you." They left through the back of the garage, Marcus carrying Emma, while her wheelchair folded into the trunk of an old pickup truck he kept for emergencies. The Harley was too conspicuous. They needed to blend in. The drive out of Millbrook was tense. Marcus checked his mirrors constantly, looking for any sign of pursuit. Emma sat rigid in the passenger seat, her hands clasped tight in her lap. "Tell me more about your son," she said suddenly. Marcus glanced at her. "What? Jake, tell me about him. What was he like?" It was a strange request given the circumstances, but Marcus understood. She needed a distraction, something to focus on besides her fear. "He was a smart-ass," Marcus said, a small smile crossing his face despite everything. "Got that from his mother. Always had a comeback, always had a joke. Even when things were bad, he could make you laugh." "What did he want to be when he grew up?" "A Marine, like his old man." Marcus's throat tightened. He used to say he wanted to help people, protect them. He had this idea that if he could be strong enough, brave enough, he could keep everyone safe. He fell silent. "He would have been proud of you," Emma said softly, "for what you're doing now." Marcus didn't trust himself to respond. He just drove, watching the road ahead, praying they'd make it to the cabin before the storm caught up with them. They were 15 miles outside of Millbrook when Marcus spotted the black SUV in his rearview mirror. It had appeared out of nowhere, maintaining a steady distance behind them. Not close enough to be obvious, but not far enough to be coincidental. "Emma, don't turn around. We've got company." He felt her tense beside him. "How many?" "One vehicle. Can't tell how many inside." Marcus accelerated slightly, testing. The SUV matched his speed. "They're following us all right." "What do we do?" Marcus's mind raced through options. The road ahead was mostly rural. Few turnoffs. No towns for another 10 miles. If they were going to make a move, they'd do it before they reached the cabin. Unless he made a move first. "Hold on," Marcus said grimly. "This might get rough." He slammed the accelerator to the floor. The old truck surged forward, engine roaring in protest. The SUV fell back for a moment, then matched their speed. "They're coming faster," Emma reported, watching the mirror. Good. That's what I want. Up ahead, Marcus spotted what he was looking for, a dirt road branching off into thick woods. He knew this area, had hunted here with Jake when the boy was 12. The SUV would have to slow down for the terrain. His truck could handle it. Brace yourself. Marcus yanked the wheel hard right. The truck fishtailed onto the dirt road, kicking up a spray of mud and gravel. Emma grabbed the dashboard, her knuckles white. Behind them, the SUV tried to follow. Marcus watched in the mirror as it slid on the wet road, nearly spinning out, before the driver regained control. But they'd lost ground. Precious seconds. Marcus pushed the truck harder, bouncing over ruts and rocks. The woods closed in around them, branches scraping against the windows. Where are we going? Emma shouted over the noise. Somewhere they can't follow. The trail narrowed barely wide enough for the truck. Behind them, the SUV's headlights flickered through the trees, still coming but falling further behind. Then Marcus saw it, a fallen tree, blocking most of the path. A gap just wide enough for his truck. Maybe. Hold on. He hit the gap at full speed. The truck scraped through metal, shrieking against bark. Emma screamed. But they made it. Behind them, the SUV skidded to a stop. No way through. Marcus didn't slow down. He kept driving, putting as much distance between them and their pursuers as possible. 5 minutes later, he emerged onto another back road and finally allowed himself to breathe. We lost them, Emma said shakily. We actually lost them. For now. Marcus's jaw was tight. But they know we're onto them. They'll be back. He reached for his phone and dialed Diego. Change of plans, he said when his friend answered. We need that evidence tonight. Sullivan's people just tried to intercept us. Understood. Give us 6 hours. We'll have everything. Make it 4. I don't think we have 6. Marcus ended the call and looked at Emma. Her face was pale, but her eyes were determined. 4 hours, she said. Then this ends. Then this ends, Marcus agreed. One way or another. The cabin sat dark when they arrived, nothing but shadows and silence waiting for them. Marcus killed the engine and sat listening for a full minute before he moved. No sounds of pursuit. No headlights cutting through the trees. They'd made it. Stay here, he told Emma. Let me check inside first. He drew his Glock and approached the cabin, carefully clearing each room the way he'd been trained. Kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, storage closet. All empty. All safe. When he returned to the truck, Emma was shaking. Hey. He opened her door and knelt beside her. We're okay. Nobody followed us. We're safe here. For how long? Her voice cracked. How long until they find us again? Long enough. Marcus lifted her from the truck, carrying her inside. Diego and Ghost are working as fast as they can. 4 hours, maybe less. Then we blow this whole thing wide open. He settled her into an old armchair near the fireplace and wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. The cabin was cold, but he didn't dare light a fire. The smoke would give away their position. Emma pulled the blanket tighter. Marcus, those men in the SUV, they weren't just following us. They were hunting us. I know. If they'd caught us, they didn't. But if they had... Emma's eyes met his. What would they have done to you for helping me? Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. They both knew what men like Raymond Blackwell did to people who got in their way. His phone buzzed. Diego. Talk to me, Marcus answered. Brother, you need to hear this. Diego's voice was tense. Ghost just cracked Sullivan's private server. The emails, the financial records, it's worse than we thought. Way worse. How much worse? The shell company that owns Sunrise Care Center. It's connected to 3 other facilities across Georgia, all of them taking special patients for premium fees, all of them keeping people drugged and isolated. Marcus felt his stomach turn. How many victims? At least 15 that we can confirm. Maybe more. Some of these people have been missing for years, Marcus. Their families reported them dead or relocated, but they're sitting in these facilities right now, alive and forgotten. Emma was watching him intently. Marcus put the phone on speaker. Emma, you were right, Diego continued. Your father wasn't just hiding you. He built an entire operation. Rich families pay him to make their inconvenient relatives disappear. We're talking millions of dollars over the past decade. Emma's face went white. My God. There's more. Ghost found communications between Sullivan and Blackwell. They've been planning something called Protocol Clean for the past week. We don't know exactly what it means, but it involves resolving all outstanding liabilities. Outstanding liabilities, Marcus repeated. That means the victims. He's going to eliminate the evidence. That's our read too. If he thinks you're getting close to exposing him, he might accelerate the timeline. How soon can you have everything compiled? 3 hours, maybe 2.5 if Ghost keeps working at this pace. Make it 2. And Diego, include everything about those other facilities. If we're taking Sullivan down, we're taking down the whole operation. Copy that. Stay safe, brother. Marcus ended the call. Emma was staring at him with horror in her eyes. 15 people, she whispered. At least 15 people locked away like I was. Drugged, forgotten. We're going to save them. How? If my father realizes we know about the other facilities, then we need to move fast. Marcus started pacing, his mind racing. Once we have the evidence, we go public immediately. National press, FBI, everyone at once. Your father won't have time to cover his tracks. But what about the other victims if he orders Protocol Clean before we can… Emma… Marcus stopped and knelt in front of her. Listen to me. We are going to stop him. All of it. The facilities, the corruption, everything. I didn't drag you through those woods just to let him win. She searched his face. You really believe that… I don't believe it. I know it. He took her hand. Your father made one critical mistake tonight. He sent his men after us, which means he's scared. Scared people make more mistakes. And we're going to make him pay for every single one. Emma's grip tightened on his fingers. I spent 2 years thinking I was alone, thinking nobody cared what happened to me. And now you've got a broken-down Marine and a couple of crazy intelligence guys in your corner. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Not exactly an army, but we've faced worse odds. Tell me about them. Diego and Ghost. How do you know them? Marcus sat back against the wall, keeping his eyes on the window. Afghanistan, 2007. We were running a reconnaissance mission in Helmand province when everything went sideways. Taliban ambush. Our convoy got hit hard. 6 men went down in the first 30 seconds. What happened? Diego took a bullet in the shoulder but kept firing. Ghost got pinned behind a burning truck. I was the only one still mobile, so I did what any grunt would do. I went to get my brothers. You saved them. We saved each other. Diego laid down covering fire while I pulled Ghost from the wreck. Then Ghost, bleeding from 6 wounds, figured out a way to signal an airstrike that took out the Taliban position. Marcus shook his head. We carried each other 3 miles to the extraction point. By the time the choppers arrived, we'd lost 4 good men, but the 3 of us made it. And you've stayed close ever since. Brothers don't have to share blood, Emma. Sometimes they just share hell. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then, I never had that. People who would fight for me. Even before the accident, my father saw me as an asset to manage, not a daughter to love. What about your mother? Pain flickered across Emma's face. She died when I was 12. Cancer. The last thing she said to me was, "Don't let him break you." I think she knew what he was even then. Sounds like a wise woman. She was. Emma smiled sadly. She would have liked you, Marcus. She always said the measure of a person isn't what they do when it's easy. It's what they do when it costs them everything. Before Marcus could respond, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He answered cautiously. "Yeah. Mr. Brennan." The voice was smooth, cultured, and cold as ice. "I understand you've been causing some problems for a friend of mine." Marcus's blood ran cold. "Who is this?" "My name is Raymond Blackwell. I believe you've heard of me." Emma went rigid. Marcus put a finger to his lips, warning her to stay silent. "I've heard of you," Marcus said evenly. "You're the guy who dumps disabled women in the rain to die." Such a crude characterization. I prefer problem solver. Blackwell's tone remained pleasant, almost friendly. "Mr. Brennan, I'm calling to offer you an opportunity. A chance to walk away from this situation with your life and business intact." "Not interested." "You haven't heard my offer yet." "Don't need to. The answer is no." A pause. When Blackwell spoke again, the pleasant facade had cracked slightly. "Mr. Brennan, you're a practical man. I've done my research. You run a struggling motorcycle shop. You have no family left, no connections, nothing to lose, some might say. But that also means nothing to gain by continuing this foolish crusade. I've got everything to gain, such as the satisfaction of watching your boss go to prison." Blackwell laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Senator Sullivan has resources you can't imagine. Legal, political, financial. You think a washed-up Marine with a gun and a grudge can bring him down? I think we're about to find out." "Very well." Blackwell's voice hardened. "I gave you a chance, Mr. Brennan. Remember that. When this is over, when everything you care about lies in ruins around you, remember that I offered you a way out, and you refused." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise. Enjoy your evening, Mr. Brennan. It may be your last." The line went dead. Emma was trembling. "He knows where we are. He has to know. How else? He doesn't know." Marcus's mind was racing. If he knew, he wouldn't be calling to negotiate. He'd be kicking down the door. He checked his weapon. But he's getting desperate. The clock is ticking. "Marcus, what if—" "No." He cut her off firmly. "We don't play the what-if game. We focus on what's next. Diego and Ghost have the evidence. In 2 hours we take down your father. That's the only thing that matters." Emma took a shaky breath. "How do you do it?" "Stay so calm when everything is falling apart." "Practice." Marcus sat beside her. 3 tours in Afghanistan teaches you that panic gets people killed. You feel the fear, acknowledge it, then put it in a box and deal with it later. Right now, fear isn't useful. Focus is. "I'm trying." "You're doing better than you think. Most people would have broken down hours ago. You're still fighting." "I don't feel like I'm fighting. I feel like I'm just surviving." "Emma." Marcus turned to face her fully. "Surviving is fighting. Every day you spent in that facility refusing to give up, refusing to let them win, that was fighting. Every moment you stayed alive on those streets waiting for a chance, that was fighting. And tonight, when you climbed on that motorcycle and trusted a complete stranger to save you, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen." Tears welled in Emma's eyes. "You don't know me. How can you have so much faith in someone you just met?" "Because I recognize a warrior when I see one. The body might be broken, but the spirit isn't. That's what matters." A tear slid down her cheek. "My father used to say I was weak. After the accident, he said I'd always be a burden, that I'd never contribute anything to the world. Your father is a monster and a fool. You survived things that would destroy most people. That's not weakness, that's steel." Emma wiped her eyes. Steel, she repeated softly. I like that. Good. Because I'm going to need you strong for what comes next. When we go public with this evidence, your father will throw everything he has at us. Lawyers, media attacks, maybe worse. Are you ready for that? Yes. Her voice steadied. I've been running for 3 weeks. I'm done running. Whatever comes next, I face it head on. That's my girl. Marcus's phone buzzed. Text from Ghost Major Breakthrough. You need to see this. Video evidence. Sullivan on camera. Marcus felt his pulse quicken. Ghost found something. Video evidence of your father. Video. What kind of video? I don't know yet, but if it's what I think it is. Another text. Sending encrypted file. Now, this changes everything. Marcus pulled up the file on his phone. It took a moment to download, and when it finally played, both he and Emma stared in stunned silence. The footage was grainy, clearly recorded on a hidden camera. It showed a sterile hallway, medical equipment lining the walls. A man in an expensive suit walked into frame. Senator William Sullivan. He stopped in front of a door marked Private and turned to speak to someone off camera. How many doses did we give her this week? 4, sir, as instructed. Good. Keep her sedated. I don't want any more escape attempts. Yes, sir. But, Senator, she's showing signs of organ stress. If we continue at this rate, then we continue until she's no longer a problem. Sullivan's voice was ice. I don't care how you do it. I want my daughter permanently out of the picture before the primary. Am I clear? Perfectly clear, sir. Sullivan walked off camera. The footage ended. Emma was shaking violently. He was going to kill me. He was actually going to kill me. Marcus could barely contain his fury. That was him ordering your death, on video, time-stamped and everything. Oh God, oh God. Emma covered her face with her hands. I knew he wanted me gone, but to hear it, to actually hear him say, Emma, look at me. Marcus gently pulled her hands away from her face. This is the evidence we need. This isn't just about corruption anymore. This is attempted murder. Your father is going to prison for the rest of his life. But the other victims, the ones at the other facilities, if he gave the same orders for them, Ghost is still digging. If there's evidence of harm to others, we'll find it. His phone rang. Diego. Tell me you've got more, Marcus answered. Brother, you're not going to believe this. Diego's voice was shaking, and Diego never shook. Ghost cracked Sullivan's personal calendar. Protocol clean is scheduled for tomorrow night. All 4 facilities, simultaneously. What exactly is protocol clean? Overdoses, made to look like natural causes or suicides. 15 people, Marcus. They're planning to kill 15 people in one night to cover their tracks. Marcus felt the world tilt. We have to stop them. How? We're still hours away from having a complete evidence package. If we go to the authorities now with what we have, then they'll tip off Sullivan and he'll accelerate the timeline. Marcus's mind raced. What if we don't go to the authorities? What if we go directly to the facilities? What do you mean? I mean we hit them ourselves. Tonight. Get the victims out before Sullivan's people can touch them. Marcus, that's crazy. There are 4 facilities spread across Georgia. We're 3 guys and a woman in a wheelchair. Then we call in reinforcements. Marcus thought fast. Your security company, how many operatives can you mobilize in the next hour? A pause. Maybe 8. 10 if I pull everyone off their current assignments. Do it. Split into teams, hit all 4 facilities at once. Get the victims out and into protective custody before Sullivan knows what's happening. And if his people resist, then we do what Marines do. We improvise, adapt, and overcome. Emma grabbed Marcus's arm. I'm going with you. Emma. No. Those people are in there because of my father, because of my family. I need to be part of getting them out. It's too dangerous. I can't walk, Marcus. That doesn't mean I can't help. Her eyes blazed with determination. I know how those facilities work. I know the layouts, the schedules, the blind spots in their security. Let me help. Marcus studied her face. The fear was still there, but something stronger had risen above it. Purpose. Resolve. The face of someone who had finally decided to stop being a victim and start being a fighter. Okay, he said finally. You're in. Diego's voice crackled through the phone. Are we really doing this? We're really doing this. Marcus checked his weapon again. Assemble your teams. We move in 90 minutes. Copy that. And Marcus, if this goes wrong, it won't. But if it does, then we go down fighting. Marcus looked at Emma. It's what warriors do. He ended the call and immediately dialed Ghost. I need everything you have on those 4 facilities. Floor plans, staff rotation, security systems. Everything. Already on it, Ghost replied. I'm sending it to Diego now. But Marcus, there's something else. One of those facilities, the one in Macon, it's only 20 miles from your cabin. Marcus felt his pulse quicken. How many victims there? 4, including one who's been there longer than anyone else, a woman named Catherine Sullivan. Emma gasped. Catherine, you know her. She's my aunt, my mother's sister. Emma's face had gone pale. My father told me she died 5 years ago. He said she had a heart attack. Marcus felt pieces clicking into place. Your father has been hiding your aunt for 5 years. Catherine was the only one who knew the truth about him, about what he did to my mother before she died. Emma's voice was shaking. She threatened to go public, and then suddenly she was dead. She's not dead. She's 20 miles from here, drugged and imprisoned, just like you were. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but these weren't tears of grief. They were tears of rage. We save her first, Emma said fiercely. Whatever it takes, we save Catherine first. We save them all. Marcus grabbed his jacket. Let's move. The night had just begun, and somewhere out there, 15 innocent people were waiting to be rescued. Marcus Brennan had spent 20 years running from his past. Tonight he was going to make it mean something. They reached the Macon facility at 11:47 p.m. Marcus cut the headlights a quarter mile out and coasted the truck to a stop behind an abandoned warehouse across the street. There it is, Emma whispered, leaning forward in her seat. Sunrise Care Center East. That's where they're keeping Catherine. Marcus studied the building through the darkness. 2 floors, single entrance visible from their position, a security booth near the front gate with 1 guard inside. How many staff on night shift? He asked. When I was at the main facility, nights were skeleton crew. Maybe 4 or 5 people total. 2 nurses, 2 orderlies, 1 supervisor. Security, 1 guard at the entrance, another doing rounds inside. Emma's hands twisted in her lap. But Marcus, if my father knows we're coming. He doesn't. Not yet. Marcus checked his phone. Diego and his teams were in position at the other 3 facilities, waiting for the signal. We hit all 4 places at the same time. By the time Sullivan realizes what's happening, it'll be over. And if something goes wrong, then we adapt. Marcus looked at her. You ready for this? Emma took a deep breath. I've been ready for 2 years. Good. Stay in the truck until I signal. If anything goes sideways, you call Diego and get out of here. Don't wait for me. Marcus, promise me, Emma. She held his gaze for a long moment. I promise. Marcus slipped out of the truck and moved through the shadows toward the facility. His body remembered this rhythm, the controlled breathing, the silent footsteps, the heightened awareness of every sound and movement. 20 years since Afghanistan, but some things never left you. He reached the security booth and watched the guard inside. Middle-aged guy, overweight eyes glued to a small television playing a late-night talk show. Not exactly elite security. Marcus circled around to the blind spot and approached from behind. One quick movement arm around the throat pressure on the carotid. The guard slumped unconscious without making a sound. "Sorry, buddy," Marcus murmured, zip-tying the man's hands and feet. "Wrong place, wrong time." He found the guard's access card and moved to the front entrance. The door clicked open. He was in. The hallway stretched ahead, dimly lit and eerily quiet. Marcus moved fast, checking each room as he passed. Storage. Empty patient room. Another empty room. Then he heard it. Footsteps approaching from around the corner. Marcus pressed himself against the wall and waited. A young orderly appeared, scrolling through his phone, completely oblivious. Marcus grabbed him and had him restrained in seconds. "Where's the special ward?" Marcus demanded, keeping his voice low. The orderly's eyes went wide with terror. I don't know what you're talking about." "The hidden patients. The ones who aren't supposed to exist. Where are they?" "Please, man, I just work here. I don't know anything about—" Marcus tightened his grip. "Last chance." "Basement," the orderly gasped. "There's a basement level. They keep them down there. Please, I've never even been down there, I swear." Marcus knocked him out and moved on. Basement. Of course there was a basement. He found the stairwell and descended into darkness. The air grew colder with each step, carrying a faint chemical smell that made his stomach turn. Whatever was down here, it wasn't good. The basement door was locked, but the guard's access card worked. Marcus pushed through and found himself in a narrow corridor lined with heavy metal doors. Each door had a small window. He looked through the first one and felt his heart clench. A woman lay on a narrow bed, her wrists and ankles restrained, an IV drip, feeding something into her arm. She was maybe 60 years old, thin as a skeleton, her eyes vacant and staring at nothing. Marcus tried the door, locked from the outside. He used the access card and pushed inside. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" No response. She was alive. He could see her chest rising and falling, but she was somewhere far away, lost in whatever chemical fog they'd pumped into her. He needed to find Catherine first, Emma's aunt. Then he'd come back for everyone. The second door revealed a man in similar condition. The third, another woman. Each one a ghost barely clinging to life. The fourth door was different. The woman inside was awake. She turned her head when Marcus entered, and even through the haze of sedation recognition flickered in her eyes. "Who are you?" she croaked. "My name is Marcus. I'm here to get you out." He moved to her bedside and started working on the restraints. "Are you Catherine Sullivan?" The woman's breath caught. "How do you know my name? Your niece sent me." "Emma." Catherine's eyes filled with tears. Emma's alive." "She's alive. She's outside right now waiting for you." "Oh, God. Oh, thank God." Catherine's voice broke. "They told me she was dead. They said she died in the accident." They lied about a lot of things. Marcus freed her wrists and moved to her ankles. "Can you walk?" "I don't know. They keep me drugged. I can barely think most of the time." "Then I'll carry you. We're getting everyone out of here tonight." Catherine grabbed his arm with surprising strength. "There are others. 3 others down here. We hear each other sometimes through the walls." "I know. I'm coming back for them. And William, my brother-in-law, he's going to prison for the rest of his life. I promise you that." Marcus lifted Catherine from the bed. She weighed almost nothing, another victim starved and drugged into submission by Senator Sullivan's machine. "Hold on to me," he told her. "We're moving fast." He carried her out of the cell and back down the corridor. 3 more victims to rescue. He needed to work faster. His phone buzzed. Text from Diego teams in position. "Ready on your signal." Marcus typed back with one hand, "Go." Now. This was it. All 4 facilities all at once. By dawn, Senator Sullivan's empire of hidden horrors would be exposed to the world. Marcus reached the first cell and laid Catherine gently against the wall. "Stay here. I'll be right back." He freed the first victim, the elderly woman, and carried her to where Catherine sat. Then the man. Then the third woman. 4 fragile, broken people huddled together in that basement corridor, blinking at each other like survivors of some terrible disaster. "Can any of you walk?" Marcus asked. "I can try," the man said weakly. "My legs work, I think." "Good. Help whoever you can. We're going up those stairs and out the front door." "What about the staff?" Catherine asked. "I'll handle the staff. You focus on moving." Marcus led the way up the stairs, his weapon drawn. The facility was still quiet. No alarms, no shouting. Either they hadn't discovered the unconscious guard yet, or they were waiting for him. He hoped it was the former. They emerged into the main hallway. The man from the basement was supporting one of the women, moving slowly but steadily. Catherine leaned against the wall, trying to find her balance. "Almost there," Marcus said. "Front door is just ahead." That's when the alarm went off. The sound was deafening, red lights flashing throughout the building. Somewhere nearby, a door slammed open and footsteps pounded toward them. "Move!" Marcus shouted. "Get to the door!" He positioned himself between the victims and the approaching threat weapon raised. 2 orderlies appeared around the corner, both of them stopping dead when they saw his gun. "On the ground," Marcus commanded. "Now." They dropped immediately, hands behind their heads. Smart choice. "Marcus!" Emma's voice came from the front entrance. She'd wheeled herself inside, her face pale but determined. "I heard the alarm. We're fine. Help them to the truck." Emma moved to Catherine's side, and Marcus watched as aunt and niece saw each other for the first time in years. Catherine's face crumpled. "Emma, oh my sweet girl." "I'm here, Aunt Catherine. I'm here." Emma took her hand. "We're going to get you out of this." "They told me you were dead." "I know. They told me the same thing about you." And Marcus kept his weapon trained on the orderlies while the victims made their way to the exit. His phone buzzed repeatedly, updates from Diego's teams. Facility 2 cleared. 6 victims recovered. Facility 3 secured. 3 victims. Facility 4 resistance encountered. 2 guards down, non-lethal. 5 victims recovered. They were doing it. They were actually doing it. "Marcus," Diego's voice crackled through on a call. "We've got a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Sullivan knows. Someone tipped him off. He's mobilizing his people, police, private security, everyone. They're headed to all 4 locations." "How long do we have?" 20 minutes, maybe less." Marcus's mind raced. "Get the victims to the safe house. All of them. I'll handle Sullivan's people here." "Brother, you can't take them all alone." "I'm not alone." Marcus looked at Emma, who was helping Catherine toward the door. "I've got everything I need. Just get those people to safety." "Copy that. Good luck." Marcus ended the call and moved to the entrance. Emma had gotten all 4 victims outside and into the truck, a tight fit, but they'd manage. "Sullivan's sending people," Marcus told her. "We need to move, now." "Where are we going?" "Safe house in Atlanta. Diego's teams are bringing all the victims there. We regroup, compile the evidence, and go public at dawn." "And my father, your father's world is about to come crashing down." Marcus climbed behind the wheel. "Hold on tight. We're not stopping for anything." He gunned the engine and tore out of the parking lot. In the rearview mirror, he could see the facility shrinking behind them, its red alarm lights still flashing in the darkness. They'd done it. 15 victims rescued, 4 facilities exposed. Evidence enough to destroy Senator Sullivan and everyone who'd helped him. But the night wasn't over yet. Marcus pushed the truck harder, watching the road ahead and the mirror behind. Any moment he expected to see flashing police lights or black SUVs. Sullivan's counterattack was coming. The only question was when. "How is everyone back there?" he called over his shoulder. "Scared," Emma replied. "But alive. Catherine keeps squeezing my hand like she's afraid I'll disappear." "She's been through hell. They all have." "Marcus," Emma's voice grew quiet. "What my father did to these people. Keeping them drugged for years, locked in basements while he stood on stages talking about family and values and faith. How does someone become that evil? Power," Marcus said grimly. "Power without conscience. Your father stopped seeing people as human a long time ago. They became obstacles, problems to solve, assets to manage. Even his own daughter. Especially his own daughter. You were the one person who could expose him for what he really is. That made you the biggest threat of all." Catherine's weak voice came from the back seat. "William was always cold, even before he married my sister. I warned Margaret about him, but she didn't listen. She thought she could change him." "What happened to her?" Marcus asked. "Emma said she died of cancer." A heavy silence fell over the truck. "Catherine..." Emma turned to her aunt. "What happened to my mother? I shouldn't..." Catherine's voice broke. "After all these years, I shouldn't... Please, I need to know." Catherine took a shaky breath. "Margaret didn't die of cancer, Emma. She was sick, yes, but she was getting better. The doctor said she had years left." Emma's grip tightened on her aunt's hand. "Then what happened? William happened." Catherine's voice hardened. "Your mother found out about his business dealings, the shell companies, the hidden accounts. She threatened to divorce him, take everything public. A week later, she was dead." Marcus felt the temperature in the truck drop 10 degrees. "He killed her," Emma whispered. "My father killed my mother. I could never prove it. No one could. The doctors ruled it a complication from treatment. But I knew. I knew what he was capable of." Catherine started crying. "When I confronted him, he had me committed. Told everyone I'd had a breakdown from grief. That's how I ended up in that place." Emma was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was steel. "He's going to pay. For all of it. My mother, you, me, everyone he's hurt." She looked at Marcus. "Whatever it takes. I want him destroyed." "He will be." Marcus met her eyes in the mirror. "I promise you, Emma. By tomorrow, the whole world will know what he is." His phone rang. Ghost's number. "Tell me something good," Marcus answered. "I wish I could, brother." Ghost's voice was tense. "We've got a situation. Someone leaked our location. Sullivan's people are converging on the safe house. What? How? I don't know, but they're coming fast. Diego's trying to evacuate the victims, but there are too many of them and not enough vehicles. How long? Maybe 15 minutes before Sullivan's people arrive." Marcus made a split-second decision. "New plan. Don't go to the safe house. Take everyone to my cabin instead. It's remote defensible. I'll text you the coordinates. What about you?" "I'm bringing 4 more victims. We'll meet you there." "Marcus, if Sullivan's people find that cabin, then we make our stand there." Marcus's jaw set. "Call the journalist, Rachel Torres. Tell her to meet us at the cabin at dawn. We're going public whether Sullivan likes it or not." "Understood. Be careful, brother." Marcus ended the call and changed course, heading back toward the mountains. The safe house was compromised. The cabin was their only option now. "What's happening?" Emma asked, hearing the tension in his voice. "Change of plans. We're going back to the cabin." But you said, I know what I said. The situation changed. Marcus checked his mirrors again. Still clear, but that wouldn't last. Emma, I need you to do something for me. Anything. In the glove compartment, there's a phone. Burner. I need you to call a number and tell them exactly what I tell you to say. Emma found the phone. Who am I calling? Channel 5 News in Atlanta. Ask for Rachel Torres. Tell her Senator William Sullivan just tried to murder 15 people, and we have the evidence to prove it. Tell her to be at these coordinates at 6 a.m. sharp, or she'll miss the biggest story of her career. Emma dialed the number with shaking hands. Marcus listened as she delivered the message, her voice growing stronger with each word. By the time she hung up, she sounded like a different person. Not a victim, a witness, a survivor ready to tell her story. She's coming, Emma said. She said she'd bring a camera crew. Good. By sunrise, this will be on every television in America. They drove through the darkness, a truck full of broken people racing against time, and a powerful enemy who would stop at nothing to silence them. Behind them, somewhere in the night, Senator Sullivan was mobilizing every resource he had. But ahead of them, Marcus could see the first faint hint of dawn touching the horizon. They just had to survive until morning. The radio crackled to life, Diego's voice, urgent and sharp. Marcus, we've got incoming. 2 vehicles coming fast from the south. They found us. Marcus looked at Emma. Hold on. He floored the accelerator. The chase was on. 2 sets of headlights appeared in the mirror, gaining fast. Black SUVs, the same kind that had followed them earlier. Sullivan's private security men who asked no questions and left no witnesses. Can we outrun them? Emma shouted over the roaring engine. Not likely. This truck wasn't built for speed. Then what do we do? Marcus's mind raced through options. The road ahead twisted through mountain terrain. Narrow passages, sharp turns, steep drops. Dangerous for everyone, but especially dangerous for vehicles moving at high speed. I know these roads, Marcus said. They don't. That's our advantage. He cut the headlights, plunging them into darkness. The SUVs behind them hesitated, slowing slightly at the sudden blindness. Marcus, I can't see anything. I can. 20 years of hunting these mountains with Jake had burned every curve into his memory. Trust me. He yanked the wheel hard right, taking a turn that shouldn't have been possible at their speed. The truck's tires screamed in protest. Someone in the back seat cried out. Behind them, one of the SUVs missed the turn. Marcus heard the crunch of metal against rock-saw headlights spinning wildly in his mirror before disappearing over the edge. One down. The second SUV was more cautious now, hanging back slightly. But it was still coming. There's a bridge ahead, Marcus called out. Old wooden thing barely wide enough for one vehicle. If we can get across before they do, we can block it, Emma finished. Trap them on the other side. Exactly. The bridge appeared in the darkness, a narrow span across a deep ravine. Marcus didn't slow down. The truck hit the wooden planks at full speed, the entire structure shaking beneath their weight. They made it across. Barely. Marcus slammed the brakes and jumped out, grabbing a road flare from the emergency kit. He lit it and tossed it onto the bridge, then aimed his weapon at the approaching SUV. The vehicle screeched to a stop at the other end of the bridge. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a figure emerged from the passenger side. Raymond Blackwell. Even in the dim light of the flare, Marcus could see the man's cold smile. Impressive, Mr. Brennan. Blackwell's voice carried across the ravine. You've caused quite a bit of trouble tonight. I'm just getting started. I see you've collected Senator Sullivan's lost property. Blackwell gestured at the truck. Very noble, very foolish. These people aren't property. They're witnesses, and by morning they'll be telling their stories to every news outlet in the country. Will they Blackwell's smile didn't waver. I wonder. Witnesses have a way of changing their minds, or disappearing entirely. Try it. See what happens. Blackwell studied him for a moment. You know, Mr. Brennan, I did some more research on you. Decorated Marine, 3 tours, lost your wife and son, spent the last 20 years hiding from the world in that sad little motorcycle shop of yours. Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but said nothing. The senator was right about you. You're a broken man trying to feel like a hero one more time. But this isn't Afghanistan, Mr. Brennan. You can't shoot your way out of this. Senator Sullivan has resources you can't imagine. Money, power, friends in very high places. His money won't protect him from the truth. Truth, Blackwell laughed. Truth is whatever the powerful say it is. Always has been. Your witnesses are mentally unstable former patients who've been heavily medicated for years. Who's going to believe them? Everyone. When they see the video of Sullivan ordering his own daughter's death. For the first time, Blackwell's smile flickered. What video? The one that's going to be on every television screen in America in about 4 hours. Marcus raised his voice slightly, making sure everyone in the SUV could hear. Your boss made a mistake, Blackwell. He talked too much in front of the wrong camera. And now we have everything we need to put him away forever. Blackwell was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its pleasant edge. You're bluffing. Am I drive away right now and find out? Or stay here and watch your whole world fall apart? The standoff stretched on and off stretched. Marcus kept his weapon steady, his breathing controlled. Behind him, he could hear Emma helping the victims out of the truck, moving them away from the potential line of fire. Finally, Blackwell stepped back toward the SUV. This isn't over, Mr. Brennan. No, it's not. It's just beginning. Blackwell climbed back into the vehicle. The SUV reversed slowly, then turned and disappeared into the darkness. Marcus lowered his weapon and allowed himself one deep breath. They'd bought themselves some time. Not much, but enough. He's gone, Emma said, wheeling up beside him. Why did he leave? Because I told him about the video. He needs to warn Sullivan, figure out their next move. Marcus turned back to the truck. Which means we need to move faster. Get everyone back inside. We've got 3 hours until dawn. 3 hours until the journalist arrived. 3 hours until the truth came out. 3 hours for Senator Sullivan to try to stop them one final time. Marcus looked at the lightening sky and felt something he hadn't felt in 20 years. Hope. They reached the cabin at 4:23 a.m. Diego and Ghost were already there, along with 11 other survivors from the other facilities. 15 broken souls huddled together in the small space, blinking at each other with the dazed expressions of people who couldn't quite believe they were free. Marcus helped Emma inside, then turned to Diego. Status. All teams accounted for. No casualties on our side. Diego's face was grim. But we lost contact with 2 of my guys about an hour ago. They were watching Sullivan's main residence. What happened? Don't know. They just went dark. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Sullivan was making moves they couldn't see. That was dangerous. Rachel Torres, he asked. On her way. Should be here in about 90 minutes. Good. Once she arrives, we go live. Everything we have, the video, the financial records, the witness statements, all of it. Ghost emerged from the bedroom laptop in hand. Marcus, you need to see this. He followed Ghost to the small table where the computer sat open. On screen was a live news feed from Atlanta. Senator William Sullivan stood at a podium surrounded by cameras and microphones. His face was the picture of concern and compassion. Turn it up, Marcus said. Sullivan's voice filled the room. Deeply troubled by reports of a violent attack on several care facilities across our state tonight. My heart goes out to the families of the patients who were forcibly removed from these facilities by what appears to be a dangerous militia group. Militia group? Emma wheeled over, her face pale. He's calling us terrorists. I have spoken with the governor and federal authorities, Sullivan continued, and I am confident that these criminals will be brought to justice swiftly. In the meantime, I urge anyone with information about the whereabouts of these disturbed individuals to contact law enforcement immediately. A reporter raised her hand. Senator Sullivan, there are rumors that your daughter Emma was involved in tonight's incidents. Can you comment? Sullivan's face transformed into a mask of sorrow. My daughter Emma suffered a tragic accident 2 years ago that left her with severe physical and mental challenges. She has been receiving specialized care ever since. I am heartbroken that she may have been manipulated by these criminals, and I pray for her safe return. Marcus watched Emma's hands curl into fists. He's lying, she whispered. He's standing up there lying to the entire country, and they're believing him. Not for long. Marcus turned to Ghost. How quickly can you get our evidence to the news networks? Already done. I sent encrypted packages to every major outlet an hour ago. Problem is, none of them are running the story. What? Why? Because Sullivan's lawyers got to them first. They're threatening defamation lawsuits demanding verification, citing the senator's impeccable reputation. Ghost shook his head. The networks are scared. They want to wait for official sources. Official sources that Sullivan controls. Exactly. Diego stepped forward. What about Rachel Torres? She's independent. She's our best shot, Marcus agreed. But even she can only do so much. A local journalist against a sitting senator with presidential ambitions, Sullivan's machine will bury her. Emma looked up suddenly. Not if I go on camera myself. Everyone turned to her. Think about it. She continued, her voice growing stronger. Right now, my father is controlling the narrative. I'm the disturbed daughter who got manipulated by criminals. But what happens when that disturbed daughter shows up on live television and tells her own story? It's dangerous, Marcus said. Sullivan's people are looking for you. The moment you go public, they'll know exactly where I am. I know. Emma met his eyes. But what's the alternative? Hide forever, let him win. She's right, Catherine said weakly from across the room. All 14 other survivors were listening now. We've all been hiding. That's how William kept us quiet. Fear. Silence. Shame. She struggled to sit up straighter. I'm tired of being afraid. One by one, the other survivors spoke up. I'll talk too, said the elderly woman from Emma's facility. They took 3 years of my life. I want them back. My family thinks I'm dead, added a middle-aged man. I want them to know the truth. Count me in, said another. Whatever it takes. Marcus looked around the room at these broken, battered people who had every reason to stay silent and every reason to be afraid. And yet here they were, ready to fight. Okay, he said finally. When Rachel Torres gets here, we tell everything. All of us, but we do it smart. He turned to Ghost. I need you to set up a live stream. Something Sullivan's lawyers can't shut down. Social media, independent platforms, everything. On it. Diego, I need your people on perimeter. If Sullivan sends anyone before we go live, I want to know about it. Already handled. And Emma? Marcus knelt beside her wheelchair. Are you sure about this? Once you go on camera, there's no going back. Your father will throw everything he has at you. Let him. Emma's chin lifted. I've spent 2 years being his victim. It's time I became his nightmare. The next hour passed in tense preparation. Ghost set up cameras and streaming equipment, while Diego's team secured the perimeter. The survivors gathered their thoughts, preparing to share stories they'd kept buried for years. Marcus found himself standing by the window, watching the sky slowly lighten. Dawn was coming. In less than an hour, either they would expose Senator Sullivan's crimes to the world, or Sullivan's people would find them and silence them forever. "You're worried." He turned to find Emma behind him, her face illuminated by the growing light. "I'm always worried. Comes with the territory." "Tell me the truth, Marcus. What are our chances?" He was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, I don't know. Sullivan has money power connections. We have a handful of traumatized witnesses and some encrypted files." He shook his head. "In a fair fight, we'd lose. Good thing we're not fighting fair." Marcus almost smiled. "No, we're not." "Marcus," Emma hesitated. "Whatever happens today, I want you to know you saved my life. Not just when you found me in the rain. Every moment since then. You made me believe I was worth saving." "You were always worth saving, Emma. You just needed someone to remind you." She reached up and took his hand. Her fingers were warm now, no longer the icy grip of that terrified girl in the storm. "When this is over," she said softly, "what happens to us?" Before Marcus could answer, Diego's voice crackled over the radio. "Multiple vehicles approaching from the south, at least 4 SUVs. They'll be here in 10 minutes. Marcus's blood went cold. "How did they find us?" "Doesn't matter. They found us." Diego's voice was grim. "What are your orders?" Marcus looked at Emma, then at the room full of survivors who were counting on him. 10 minutes. Not enough time for Rachel Torres to arrive. Not enough time to go live with their evidence, but maybe enough time to make a stand. "Defensive positions," Marcus commanded. "Everyone who can't fight, get to the basement. Go start the live stream now. Whatever we've got, whatever we can record, get it out there." "But Rachel's not here yet. We can't wait. Do it." The cabin erupted into controlled chaos. Diego's men took positions at windows and doors, while Ghost frantically configured the streaming equipment. The survivors helped each other toward the basement stairs, moving as quickly as their weakened bodies allowed. Emma refused to go. "I'm staying," she said when Marcus tried to guide her toward the basement. "If this is going to be broadcast, I need to be on camera." "Emma, this is my story, Marcus. My father. My fight. I'm not hiding anymore." There was no time to argue. Marcus positioned her in front of Ghost's camera, while the sound of engines grew louder outside. "We're live," Ghost announced. "Streaming to 12 platforms simultaneously. They can't shut us all down." Emma faced the camera. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "My name is Emma Grace Sullivan. My father is Senator William Sullivan of Georgia, and everything you've been told about me is a lie." Outside, car doors slammed. Voices shouted commands. Sullivan's people had arrived. "2 years ago, I was in a car accident that left me paralyzed," Emma continued. "My father saw me as a liability to his political career, so he had me committed to a private facility where I was drugged, restrained, and held against my will." The first window shattered. Diego returned fire. "Last night, this man—" Emma gestured to Marcus, who was now crouching behind a overturned table weapon drawn, and his friends rescued me and 14 other victims from facilities my father has been using to disappear people. People whose families paid him to make them go away. More gunfire. The sound of splintering wood. "My father is a monster," Emma said, her voice rising above the chaos. "He had my mother killed. He imprisoned my aunt for 5 years. He tried to have me murdered. And right now his men are attacking this location to stop me from telling you the truth." Marcus fired 3 rounds through a broken window. One of Sullivan's men went down. We have video evidence of my father ordering my death. We have financial records proving his corruption. We have testimony from 15 survivors. Emma's eyes blazed into the camera. Senator Sullivan thinks he can silence us. He's wrong. The front door burst open. 2 men in tactical gear rushed in. Marcus dropped the first with a shot to the leg. Diego tackled the second. America, this is what power without conscience looks like. Emma continued, her voice never wavering, even as violence erupted around her. This is what happens when we let corrupt men hide behind their money and their influence and their lies. A third attacker made it through the door. He raised his weapon toward Emma. Marcus didn't think. He moved. His body slammed into the attackers, driving them both to the ground. The gun went off the bullet, punching through the ceiling. Marcus's fist connected with the man's jaw once, twice, 3 times, until he stopped moving. The truth doesn't die, Emma said into the camera, tears streaming down her face now. No matter how hard they try to bury it, I am proof of that. These survivors are proof of that. More sirens in the distance, getting closer. My father will tell you I'm mentally unstable, Emma continued. He'll say I've been manipulated. He'll use every weapon in his arsenal to discredit me. She leaned forward. Ask yourself, would a loving father send armed men to attack his own daughter on live television? Ghost's voice cut through. Holy shit, we're trending. #1 nationwide. The networks are picking up the feed. Marcus risked a glance at the laptop screen. Ghost wasn't exaggerating. Their little live stream had exploded, hundreds of thousands of viewers and climbing. And then through the chaos and the gunfire and the shouting came a sound that made everyone freeze. Helicopter rotors. That's not Sullivan, Diego said, peering out a window. News choppers, 3 of them, and, yet his voice lifted with disbelief. Police helicopters, too. State troopers. FBI. Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Brennan. A woman's voice, professional and sharp. This is Special Agent Diana Chen, FBI. We're securing the perimeter. Stand down and cease fire. How do I know this isn't another Sullivan trick? Because Senator Sullivan was just arrested at his residence in Atlanta. He's being charged with conspiracy to commit murder, kidnapping, and racketeering. The evidence your associate sent to our field office was compelling. Marcus felt his legs go weak. He's really arrested, in custody as we speak, along with Raymond Blackwell and 17 others connected to the operation. A pause. You did good work tonight, Mr. Brennan. Dangerous, unauthorized, borderline illegal work, but good work nonetheless. Now please tell your people to lower their weapons before someone gets hurt. Marcus looked at Diego, who was listening on another line. Diego nodded. Stand down, Marcus called out. Everyone stand down, it's over. The shooting stopped. For a long moment there was nothing but the sound of helicopter rotors and distant sirens, and the collective breathing of people who couldn't quite believe they'd survived. Then Emma's voice, quiet but clear, carried through the cabin. Did we win? Marcus crossed to where she sat, in front of the camera, still streaming to millions of viewers worldwide. He knelt beside her wheelchair and took her hand. Yeah, Emma, we won. She collapsed against him, sobbing, not with fear this time, but with relief. 2 years of terror and isolation and hopelessness finally releasing in a flood of tears. Marcus held her tight, while the FBI secured the building and paramedics rushed in to check on the survivors, and news helicopters circled overhead, capturing everything for the world to see. They'd done it. Against all odds, against one of the most powerful men in Georgia, they'd won. But even as relief washed over him, Marcus knew this was just the beginning. The arrest was only the first step. There would be trials and testimony and endless legal battles ahead. Senator Sullivan would hire the best lawyers money could buy. He would fight to the end. And Marcus would be there for every moment of it. Rachel Torres arrived 20 minutes later, breathless and furious that she'd missed the live action. But there was still plenty of story left to tell. She interviewed Emma first, then Catherine, then each of the survivors who wanted to share their stories. By noon, Senator William Sullivan's face was on every television screen in America, not in campaign ads or carefully staged press conferences, but in mugshot photos and surveillance footage, and the damning video of him ordering his own daughter's death. His political career was over. His freedom was over. His empire of hidden horrors was exposed to the world. Marcus stood on the cabin's porch watching FBI agents process the scene and load Sullivan's unconscious attackers into transport vehicles. Diego joined him, offering a cup of terrible instant coffee. "Hell of a night," Diego said. "Hell of a night," Marcus agreed. "What now?" Marcus thought about it. For 20 years, he'd been running from his past, hiding from his grief, letting the world pass him by while he fixed motorcycles and counted the days until he didn't have to count them anymore. But Emma had changed something in him. These survivors had changed something. The fight had changed something. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I think I'm done running." Diego smiled. "About damn time, brother." Emma wheeled out onto the porch, Catherine beside her in a borrowed wheelchair. The two women looked exhausted, but more alive than Marcus had ever seen them. "The FBI wants to take official statements," Emma said. "From all of us. They're setting up at the field office in Atlanta." "You up for that?" Marcus asked. "I've been silent for 2 years. I've got a lot of talking to make up for." Emma reached out and squeezed his arm. "But first I need to make a phone call." "To who?" "My mother's family. In Ireland." Emma's voice trembled. "I never knew how to reach them, but Catherine does. She says they've been looking for me for years. They never believed my father's story about me being in specialized care." "That's good," Marcus said softly. "That's really good. Will you come with me to Atlanta? I know it's a lot to ask, but Emma," Marcus covered her hand with his. "I'm not going anywhere. Not now, not ever. You're stuck with me." She smiled through fresh tears. "Promise, promise." In the distance, another news helicopter passed overhead, its camera probably capturing this moment for the evening broadcasts. Marcus didn't care. Let the world see. Let them see what happened when good people stood up to evil. Let them see what happened when a broken Marine found a girl in the rain and decided to fight one more battle. Catherine reached over and took Emma's other hand. "Your mother would be so proud of you, sweetheart. So incredibly proud." "I know," Emma whispered. "I can feel her. It's like she's been with me this whole time, waiting for me to be brave enough to tell the truth." The morning sun broke fully over the mountains, flooding the valley with golden light. Somewhere out there, Senator William Sullivan was sitting in a federal holding cell, watching his life's work crumble around him. And here on this porch, surrounded by the people who had risked everything to help her, Emma Sullivan finally understood what freedom felt like. Not the absence of fear, but the courage to face it anyway. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the courtroom gallery and watched Senator William Sullivan receive his sentence. Life without parole, 15 counts of kidnapping, 3 counts of conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, fraud. The list went on for nearly 20 minutes. Sullivan's face remained stone throughout the reading. Only once did his mask crack when Emma wheeled to the front of the courtroom to deliver her victim impact statement. "You were supposed to protect me," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the silent room. "You were supposed to love me. Instead, you threw me away like garbage because I didn't fit your perfect political image anymore." Sullivan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. I used to wonder what I did wrong, Emma continued. What I could have done differently to make you love me. But now I know the truth. The problem was never me. It was you. You're incapable of loving anyone but yourself. She paused, composing herself. You killed my mother. You imprisoned my aunt. You tried to have me murdered. And for what? Power money. A shot at the governor's mansion. Emma shook her head. You lost everything that actually mattered and you didn't even notice. She looked directly at her father for the first time. I forgive you, she said quietly. Not for your sake, for mine. I refuse to spend the rest of my life carrying your poison in my heart. You don't deserve that much power over me anymore. Sullivan's composure finally shattered. His face contorted with rage, and he lunged against the guards holding him. You ungrateful little, he snarled. Everything I did was for this family, for our legacy. Your legacy is a prison cell, Emma replied calmly. Goodbye, Father. She turned and wheeled away, without looking back. Marcus met her at the gallery entrance, and together they walked out of the courthouse into the afternoon sun. Outside, cameras flashed, and reporters shouted questions. Rachel Torres had exclusive access, she'd earned it, but the rest of the media circus pressed against the barriers, desperate for a comment. Emma ignored them all. How do you feel? Marcus asked as they made their way to the waiting van. Empty, she admitted. I thought I'd feel, I don't know, triumphant, vindicated, but mostly I just feel tired. That's normal. You've been fighting for a long time. It takes a while for your body to realize the war is over. Is it over? Emma looked up at him. Really over. Sullivan's going to prison for the rest of his life. Blackwell got 40 years. Every single one of those facilities has been shut down. The other victims are getting treatment compensation, their lives back. Marcus helped her into the van. Yeah, Emma, it's really over. Diego was waiting behind the wheel. He'd become a permanent fixture in their lives over the past 6 months, him and Ghost both. Brothers in arms, now brothers in purpose. How'd it go? Diego asked. Life without parole, Marcus said. Diego let out a long breath. Good. That's good. He put the van in gear. Ready to head home? Home. The word still felt strange to Marcus after so many years without one. But that's what Rolling Thunder House had become. The shelter had started as Emma's idea, a place for survivors of abuse and abandonment, specifically those with disabilities who had nowhere else to go. Marcus had provided the muscle, Diego, the security expertise, Ghost, the technical know-how. Catherine had contributed her legal knowledge, working with attorneys to set up the non-profit foundation. Together, they'd transformed an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Atlanta into something remarkable. The van pulled up to the building, and Marcus felt the familiar warmth spread through his chest. The warehouse looked nothing like it had 8 months ago. Fresh paint, accessible ramps, a garden in the courtyard where residents grew vegetables and flowers. A sign above the entrance read, Rolling Thunder House, in bold letters, with a smaller inscription beneath, Everyone deserves shelter from the storm. Inside, the dinner rush was in full swing. 23 residents currently called Rolling Thunder home, some temporary, some permanent, all of them finding their way back to themselves. Emma. A young man in a motorized wheelchair zipped over the moment they entered. Tommy Chen, 19 years old, had arrived 3 months ago after escaping an abusive group home. He'd barely spoken for the first 2 weeks. Now he never stopped talking. You're back. How was the trial? Did the judge throw the book at him? Was it like in the movies? Emma laughed, a real laugh, full and bright. Slow down, Tommy. One question at a time. Life sentence. Marcus supplied. No parole. Tommy pumped his fist. Yes, Justice, I knew it. He spun his chair in an excited circle. Wait till I tell everyone. Maria owes me $5. She said he'd get off with a slap on the wrist. Tommy, we don't bet on legal proceedings, Emma said, but she was smiling. It wasn't really a bet, more like a prediction competition. Go set the table for dinner. We'll do the full debrief at the community meeting tonight. Tommy zoomed off, nearly colliding with Catherine, who was making her way across the common room with careful steps. 6 months of physical therapy had done wonders. She could walk short distances now, though she still used a wheelchair for anything longer. I saw the news, Catherine said, embracing Emma. It's done. It's finally done. It's done, Emma confirmed. He's never going to hurt anyone again. Your mother would be so proud. Catherine's eyes glistened. I know I've said that before, but I'll keep saying it until you believe it. I'm starting to. Marcus gave them space, moving through the common room toward the kitchen. Sarah Hernandez, one of the survivors from the Macon facility, was overseeing dinner preparation with military precision. How's the chicken coming? Marcus asked. Perfect, as always. Sarah wiped her hands on her apron. Don't give me that look. I spent 30 years as a chef before my son decided I was too much trouble and had me locked away. A little institution stay isn't going to make me forget how to cook. Wouldn't dream of suggesting otherwise. Sarah's expression softened. How's Emma holding up? She's strong, stronger than she knows. She gets that from you. Marcus shook his head. She had it long before I came along. I just helped her remember. The kitchen door swung open, and Ghost poked his head in. Marcus, got a minute? There's something you need to see. Marcus followed Ghost to the small office they'd converted into a command center. Multiple screens displayed security feeds, news alerts, and Ghost's specialty ongoing investigations into institutional abuse across the country. What have you got? Remember how Sullivan's operation connected to facilities in 3 other states? Yeah, FBI's been investigating. Well, they just made some arrests in Florida, big ones. Ghost pulled up a news feed. Turns out Sullivan was just one node in a larger network. There are people all over the country running the same kind of scheme, hiding inconvenient family members for wealthy clients. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. How many victims? Unknown, could be dozens, could be hundreds. Ghost turned to face him. The FBI is asking for our help. Specifically, they want Emma to consult. Her testimony was instrumental in cracking Sullivan's operation. They think she could help identify other victims, train investigators on what to look for. That's a big ask. She's been through hell already. I know, but Marcus, Ghost's voice dropped. Some of these people have been locked away for decades. They don't even know their families gave them up. They think they were abandoned because something was wrong with them. Marcus closed his eyes. He knew exactly how that felt. The belief that you were broken, worthless, deserving of whatever punishment life dealt you. I'll talk to her, he said finally. But it's her decision. He found Emma in the garden watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. She'd been coming here more often lately, said it helped her think. Beautiful, isn't it? She said as he approached. It is. Marcus settled onto the bench beside her. Ghost told me about the FBI request. Emma nodded slowly. He mentioned it to me too, on the drive over. And I don't know. She was quiet for a long moment. Part of me wants to help. Those people deserve someone who understands what they're going through. Someone who can tell them they're not crazy. They're not broken. They were just failed by people who should have protected them. And the other part is tired, Marcus. So tired. She turned to look at him. I spent 2 years fighting to survive. 6 months fighting for justice. How much more fighting do I have in me? That's something only you can answer. What would you do? Marcus considered the question carefully. When I was in Afghanistan, there was this saying we had. The only easy day was yesterday. It meant that every day would bring new challenges, new battles, new reasons to give up. But it also meant that we'd survived yesterday, which meant we could survive today, too. That's not exactly comforting. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be true. He took her hand. Emma, you've already done more than anyone could ask. You brought down your father's empire. You saved 15 people. You built this place from nothing. If you want to rest now, nobody would blame you. But I also know you. And I know that as long as there are people suffering like you suffered, you won't be able to turn away. It's not in your nature. Emma was silent for a long time. The sky darkened from orange to purple to deep blue. Stars began to emerge. I'll do it, she said finally. I'll help the FBI, but on one condition. Name it. You come with me. Whatever this investigation leads, wherever we have to go, I need you there. Marcus squeezed her hand. I already told you. You're stuck with me. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Good. Because I have a feeling this is just the beginning. The next 3 months were a whirlwind. Emma worked with FBI agents to develop victim identification protocols. She traveled to Florida, Texas, California, everywhere the investigation led, interviewing survivors and helping them understand that they weren't alone. Marcus went with her every step of the way. They uncovered a network that spanned 12 states and involved over 40 facilities. Some were legitimate care centers that had been corrupted by greed. Others were purpose-built prisons designed from the ground up to make people disappear. By the time the investigation concluded, 117 survivors had been identified and rescued. 23 perpetrators had been arrested. 3 senators, a congressman, and a federal judge were facing charges. The story dominated national news for weeks. Rolling Thunder House became the model for survivor recovery centers across the country. Emma consulted on the development of 5 new facilities, each one bearing the inscription she'd chosen for the original "Everyone Deserves Shelter from the Storm." 1 year to the day after Marcus found Emma abandoned in the rain, they held a celebration at Rolling Thunder House. All the survivors who could travel came back. Diego and Ghost and their teams. Rachel Torres, who had won a Pulitzer for her coverage of the Sullivan case. Catherine, who was walking without assistance now. Tommy, who had started college and was studying social work. The common room overflowed with people who had once been forgotten, abandoned, thrown away, and who had found each other in the wreckage of their lives. Emma wheeled to the front of the room, and the crowd fell silent. 1 year ago, tonight, she began, I was lying on a sidewalk in the rain, waiting to die. I had given up. I thought nobody cared whether I lived or died. I thought I was worthless. She paused, gathering herself. Then a stranger stopped his motorcycle in the storm. A man I'd never met with no reason to help me looked at a broken girl in a wheelchair and saw someone worth saving. Her eyes found Marcus in the crowd. That man taught me something I'll never forget. He taught me that strength isn't about being unbroken. It's about picking up the pieces and building something new. Applause rippled through the room. Every person in this building has a story like mine. Every one of you was told you were worthless, disposable, a burden. Every one of you was failed by people who should have loved you. Emma's voice grew stronger. But look at us now. Look at what we've built together. A family, a community, a place where broken people come to heal. She raised her glass. To the survivors. To the fighters. To everyone who refused to let the darkness win. The toast echoed through the room, followed by cheers and embraces and tears of joy. Later, after the celebration wound down, and most of the guests had headed to bed, Marcus found Emma on the rooftop garden they'd added last month. The city spread out below them, lights twinkling like earthbound stars. "Hell of a year," Marcus said, settling beside her. "Hell of a year," she agreed. "Marcus, yeah, thank you for stopping that night, for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself, for everything." "You don't have to thank me, Emma. You saved me just as much as I saved you." She turned to look at him. "What do you mean?" "When I found you in that rain, I was barely alive, going through the motions, waiting for my heart to stop because the rest of me already had." He took a shaky breath. "I'd lost my son, my wife, everything that mattered. I'd convinced myself that my life was over, that all I could do was run out the clock. And now I wake up every morning with a reason to keep going. I have a family again, a real family, not just blood, but people who need me and who I need right back." His voice caught. "You gave me that, Emma. You gave me a second chance I didn't deserve." "You deserved it," she said softly. "You just couldn't see it. Same as me." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights and listening to the distant sounds of celebration still filtering up from below. "What happens next?" Emma asked finally. "I don't know. More survivors to find, more facilities to build, more battles to fight." Marcus smiled slightly. "The work never ends." "No, it doesn't." Emma took his hand. "But we don't have to do it alone anymore." "No, we don't." The night wrapped around them like a blanket, warm and safe. Somewhere below, a survivor was sleeping in a real bed for the first time in years. Somewhere a family was being reunited. Somewhere a person who had been told they were worthless was beginning to believe they might be something more. That was the legacy they were building. Not monuments or memorials, but lives reclaimed. Hope restored. Broken people learning to see themselves as whole. Marcus looked at Emma. This woman, who had been abandoned to die, and had risen to save hundreds, and felt something he'd thought he'd lost forever. Peace. "Emma, yes, your mother was right. What she told you before she died." "What do you mean?" "She said, don't let him break you. And you didn't. You bent, you cracked, you nearly shattered, but you never broke. Not completely. And because you didn't break, neither did all those other people. You showed them it was possible to survive, to fight back, to win." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. You just would have done it alone. And nobody should have to do it alone." She leaned her head against his shoulder, and Marcus wrapped his arm around her. Two broken people who had found each other in the storm, who had fought their way through the darkness, who had built something beautiful from the ruins of their lives. The first light of dawn began to touch the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. A new day was beginning. A new chapter. A new chance to prove that even the most abandoned souls could find their way home. Marcus Brennan had spent 52 years searching for his purpose. He'd found it in the most unlikely place, kneeling beside a wheelchair in the pouring rain, looking into the eyes of a terrified girl who needed someone to believe she was worth saving. And she was. They all were. That was the truth that Senator William Sullivan never understood, the truth that every corrupt, cruel, heartless person in the world failed to grasp. Every human being has value. Every broken soul deserves a chance. Every abandoned child of God is worth fighting for. Marcus knew that now. Emma knew it. And together, they were going to make sure the whole world knew it too. The storm was over. The sun was rising. And at Rolling Thunder House, surrounded by the family they had built from the wreckage of their pasts, Marcus Brennan and Emma Sullivan finally understood what it meant to be home. Some people are left in the rain to die. Others are found by strangers who become family. And sometimes the ones the world throws away become the very ones who save it.